Well, welcome back to our next episode of The Awakened Stranger. And again, this is Cody. And today we have a call with Tony. And in this call, again, kind of similar to the other one, we just kind of started right off into the conversation and didn't get a chance to announce the podcast and start his introduction. But so here you'll hear us just jump right into the conversation and starting our phone call here with Tony. So hope you guys have an amazing day and thank you for being here. And with that, here we go.
Because exactly what you went through, I went through 110% to the point where my wife, and she'll tell you, my wife actually thought she was going to have to commit me to a hospital. It was that bad that day for a couple of days. So, yeah. So, I mean, your video, when my wife watched it and I sent it to her, she was like, yeah, that was you.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that was the weird part is that day one video was me the day I quit my job for the last time, walked away and wanted to record those emotions. And
right.
That's, 2.5 years in the future from when kind of my initial awakening happened, if you will. But I feel like through life, I've had several times where it's just been kind of a bigger opening, a bigger awakening that kind of compounds on the previous. So it just finally got to the point where working a job and being in an environment that no longer felt good, and my soul felt like it was just fighting back and basically telling me either make a change or I'm going to force the change. And that happened. So
and that's what happens. I mean, and that happens to a point where you're going to either do it or it's going to be pushed to the point where it's going to make you feel really vulnerable and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
So yeah.
No.
So yeah. So what would you like to talk about? What would you like to know?
Well, and that's the fun part is there's no agenda, there's no script to this. What I've liked doing so far is kind of getting people to share a little bit of their story. If you'd like to share some of your awakening stuff, things that have happened in your life, maybe childhood or life stuff that's kind of led up to the things that changed for you. How you're working through it, and then kind of just share some of that information, and then we'll keep talking. We'll have a great conversation, and I think just a lot of people have felt kind of alone in life, and that they didn't realize that there was other people going through this. So I think that's kind of the big purpose right now is just for me. I stated this a while ago. My why I wanted to do things different in life is I wanted to be a part of people's lives. I wanted to be a part of their memories. And that initially came from me wanting to quit my job and start a business where I got to be a part of people's vacations. And the time that they spent on vacation was going to be part of something I did as a day-to-day basis. And now here I am. I get the chance to talk to people around the world and hear their life stories. And I'm able to fulfill my why at a bigger scale than I ever expected. So right now, I would just love to get to know you a little bit more, Tony, and let's share life.
Absolutely. Okay, well, to start off, I grew up in a Christian home. Mm-hmm. Okay. However, what I did not know was my Christian home wasn't a Christian home. Growing up, my family was very well known. I'm part of the Bryants. The Bryants' history is legendary. Paul Bear Bryant. I'm part of that legacy from Alabama, the coach from Alabama. That is my family. Grew up in a Christian home. However, along that growing up, there were secrets that I didn't know about my family, as far as not bad secrets, just that they too were kind of spiritual. But at that point in time, when my mother was growing up, it didn't fit. It was considered as an outcast. So therefore, she held secrets until I got older. And as I got older, going to church, this and that, I wanted to be an evangelist. That's what I wanted to be. That went by the wayside because of, different things awakening, slowly, but also things that I had seen that I didn't understand or didn't trust or didn't believe. It was just a conflict in what I knew versus at the time I didn't know, but I do now, versus what I was seeing. So my mother grew up believing that spiritual awakening was wrong, was evil, was something of a more, I guess, basically of a devil type thing, which, I mean, um, so where I had my awakening, my first awakening was I was married in a previous marriage, and she used to help with missing children that was kidnapped, come up missing, whatnot, whatever. And I was a truck driver then, and so now, but I run local. And she called me, told me about what she was about to do. She was going to go on a search for this young little boy. And all of a sudden, I became overwhelmed with seeing things, downloads, who he was, what was going on, what was happening. At this point in time, I didn't really believe in things like that. I knew they existed, but I didn't believe in them, I guess you could say, as far as I'm concerned. I've always felt what other people felt. I've always felt if somebody was true, if they was not. I've always felt other people's emotions. Now it's on a grander scale. However, so that was my first time, because when she did this, when she told me all this and I started getting all these downloads, I didn't understand. I had a breakdown. I pulled over to the side of the road. I was distraught. I was a nervous wreck. I was bawling. As a grown man, I was crying for this young boy. So I shook it off. I reached out to a friend of mine about, I guess, a couple of days later, world-renowned. Like I said, I didn't believe in it, but I was friends with him, a world-renowned psychic. And the things he told me about myself were on point, but I didn't accept them. And with that, so the second awakening I had was when I went through my divorce with her. My mother had passed away. Well, I digress. I'm sorry. Before that, I'd called my mother. And me and my mother had gotten pretty close. And during that point in time, because she was dealing with cancer, I had asked her what was going on. And my mother finally explained to me what had happened to me. And her exact words was, I was hoping it would skip your generation. And it didn't. And she explained the reason why I went to church, and, well, she did. The reason why she went to church and got involved, became a children's minister and all that was because she wanted to fit in, and she was taught that was bad, that was evil, and it wasn't. And so she explained to me that she learned over time it wasn't. So she explained to me what was going on with me, which helped tremendously. After that, I reached out to my friend, like I said, that was world renowned, and he told me exactly what I needed to do. So I could either, like what you said, I could either close off, or I could let it just be open to it and see what happens. And that's what I did, and that's what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that, and it was level, kind of like what you're going through. It was level, very emotional. A lot of tears, a lot of searching, a lot of, I guess you could say, I didn't go to Google, I didn't read, I just let it flow. Then go on 2022, and I met my wife. I met my wife through TikTok, actually. She was a friend of mine. She was a follower.
Oh, cool.
I was going through a hard time. I was going through a hard time because I befriended people that was not friends. I made a decision to step away, and they didn't like that. That's neither here nor there. And so I met my wife. My wife, she had my back. She helped me. And at that point in time, I guess you could say I had been giving $6,000 to $8,000 away a month on TikTok, helping people pay their bills. That's just what I did on TikTok. That's what I was known for. Holding benefits being a part of people's benefits. It was just something that I wanted to feel a part of. I guess my awakening was causing me to try to look in different directions to be accepted. Kind of like what my mom said years ago. When my wife come along, her being in the spiritual realm, she's actually a witch. Me, I never dealt with that. I believed it existed. Well, because of me and her getting together, and I don't know if you know how much the spiritual world and the energy, and you seem like you pretty adapt to it now, is we realized through conversations and interactions that my wife was my twin flame. Now, granted, like I said, like you, I didn't believe in a lot of this stuff. He seen me go through a change, and it was a change that the religious world would have deemed as bad. I'm just an ordinary guy. I have no set path, no set direction. My journey is my journey. And so with us becoming as one, as a couple, I went through another second awakening. I started getting downloads to the point where I was either bawling or I didn't know which direction to go. I didn't know who to reach out to. And you understand this, I didn't know who to talk to at all. Things were happening to me that I never understood. My wife didn't even understand. I was opening up to the universe, to energies that were hitting me and bombarding me so bad that I was seeing things in people and in my surroundings that were just made no sense. I wanted to just, like you, quit my job. I wanted to help people. I wanted to, which I've always helped people. I wanted to do so much more. I felt like there was so much more that I needed to do in general. And then came the ability to, basically with my awakening, became the ability to actually read people's emotions, read things in a sense that I would get downloads where I would see things that was going to happen. Not in a psychic way, because I don't deem anybody as psychic. It's just like you said, you get downloads of things that you can't explain. My awakening was so emotional, and that's where you hit a key point on mine. It was so emotional. I knew what I had to do, and it was either do it or I was going to be forced to do it to the point where it was going to drive me crazy. And that right there was my major awakening. It was very emotional. I understood who I was and what I needed to do. Financially, I could still do it. And, and as far as there's a lot of things that has happened to me and my wife that awakening has actually opened the doors. Just a little brief history. I used to be a bigwig for Comcast. Okay. $300,000 a year job. Fly home every weekend from Philadelphia, from the corporate office. Take vacations. Do anything I wanted to do. Had all the money in the world. Had a $500,000 house in Franklin, Tennessee. But Cody, when I say this, I wasn't happy. I felt like I was just living and I was existing. Mm-hmm. Like you, I walked away from all that because that's not where I belong. That's not what I wanted, and was not for me. But I worked so hard to buy the home, to provide the nice cars, the nice bikes, the nice trucks, the elaborate vacations. But at that point in time, doing all that, I just woke up one morning and I walked away from it. Everything. House, cars, houses, trucks. I had a boat, motorcycles, all. I walked away from it. Um, couldn't do it anymore. Well, in this sense of this awakening here, because I've had it hit me 3 times. One is higher level than the next.
Mm-hmm.
This time, I make great money. But this time, with this type of awakening, I'm living. I'm interacting with people. I'm living for myself and not for others. And what comes in that path and that journey is whatever comes. And my morals and karma always coincide with one another. But that was my awakening. My awakening was realizing that, how would I say, that I was so much more, but I was so much better in a nicer way. That everything I did in the past, money, materialistic things, it meant nothing. It didn't open my eyes. It kept me closed and clouded to my thought process. So other than that, I mean, it was because of me and my wife, the interaction and becoming as one, that final door was open. And that's how I became who I am today.
Wow, and it's crazy that that happened because that's exactly what I'm going through at the moment. You know, I had a whole moment when I was in Maui by myself. In fact, I believe
Right.
it was on April 6th was the day that this kind of all integrated for me. I told my wife prior to leaving on that vacation, I said, there's a reason, there's something that's calling me to that location. And we've vacationed in Hawaii a long time. I've spent probably 14 or 15 years in going there for my birthday. My
Right.
birthday's July 16th, my anniversary's July 15th. So we would use that week in July as a kind of an alternating year, one year with my wife and I just by ourselves, and the next time with the kids. And so I've gone there a lot, but I kept telling her, I said, there's a calling. I have to be in that location for some reason. And I've always said that Hawaii is my happy place. And
Right.
there is, again, a different level of being this awareness of saying that I need to be there. Like my soul is asking me to be in that location. And then the date started popping up in my head, April 6th, and I had to be there in that day. And I still understood, like, and I don't know what it was. I've had this feeling, and I kept sharing with my family. I said, I don't feel like I'm going to be here for a long time. This like weird sense of not doom and gloom, but just feeling like there was
Wait a
a
minute.
part of me
Wait.
that was leaving.
Okay, wait, Cody. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, can you say that last part again? Give her. Okay, go ahead and I'll explain why I had her listen to that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I just, there was a part where when I wanted to take this vacation by myself, and I kept hearing that April 6th was the day that was very important. And I've shared with my family that I felt like I was not going to be around for a long time, that my life, my lifetime here is going to be I'm not going to grow old. I'm not going to be an old man. And I kept telling her, I said, there's just something I have to accomplish. There's things that need to get done, and this is way bigger than me, and I don't understand it. And my wife told me, she's like, there's no reason that you can't go by yourself. I had this weird, idea that I couldn't take a vacation alone. That was me just, blowing up my
Same.
family and leaving everybody behind. And
Same.
and I told her, I said that there's something changing in me so drastically that I feel like separating and selling the house and me going to live alone is like what's needed. And that's what my wife's comment was. She's like, I would rather you go take a vacation by yourself and figure out what's going on than to cause us to separate, sell the house, divorce, go through that whole path, because that's where like our communication had stopped. This awakening changed everything in me, and her and I stopped communicating on a level that I thought was healthy. And we don't fight, we don't argue at all. I guess I couldn't say it all, but right, we have little disagreements. But
Mm-hmm.
but it got to the point where I just felt so secluded and so unable to communicate with her that we were like speaking different languages to each other. And so I did. I took my time off of work. I told them I'm leaving for 2 weeks. They said, we don't offer 2 weeks vacation at once. I'm in the car business, and I was the only person signing contracts. And if I wasn't there doing the paperwork correctly, then I was fixing it when I got back. And I told myself, it's not about me asking for time off. I'm telling you, I'm either going to come back to a job or I'm going to come back and look for a job. I'm okay with either scenario. And
Right.
I took the time off, I booked my trip, and I spent 10 days alone in Maui. And on April 6th, I was sitting on the beach. I had no clue what was coming, and I just knew that I had to be grounded, was the overwhelming feeling. I had to be grounded that day. And so, being as grounded as I could, barefoot on the sand, on the beach, the entire day, I didn't even bring my music. There was no noise, just the most secluded spot I could be, spending a little bit of time in the water, a lot of time on the beach, and just there was a moment that I felt that my higher self fully embodied into my physical vessel. To explain that to a normal person or somebody that's not on an awakening journey, I think I feel crazy as hell. And there was messages that I was given, downloads to why I'm here, what my purpose is. There was an understanding of why people were going to be able to communicate with me or why I was going to be able to communicate with others. And I was shown what my soul's mission was on this planet at this lifetime and why I've gone through everything in my life, why I've had the struggles and had the different scenarios that I've had to learn and grow through. And like yourself, I think that we're both here for a very specific reason to help people as they awaken and they go through this journey.
Absolutely.
And that happened for me on April 6th. I felt like the larger portion of my higher self fully embodied into my vessel, and I anchored in the higher consciousness of my higher self, and it has stayed with me since that day. And it's sometimes overwhelming. It feels like I'm not me. I kind of mentioned to other people, I feel like I'm living this like imposter syndrome right now, where I don't feel like what is happening is something that is capable of me doing. And I think I fully understand that it's no longer me doing this. It's my voice, my body, my awareness being allowed to be used as a tool for something greater. And I believe there's a reason that we're all connecting right now. So
Absolutely. And my wife was sitting there with gawk eyes as you were speaking because, one thing I learned is you're not the first person I've talked to about awakening.
mm-hmm.
One thing I have learned is, and I'll say this, and I've never told anybody. I mean, I've told my sister. My sister's a Christian minister, but I mean, we have an absolutely amazing relationship. And I told my wife, and she's finally come to terms with it. Some people call the downloads visions. Some people call them downloads. As me and you, the way we are intellectually, we call them downloads. We tend to, once our awakening happens and once it starts, we tend to get a realization of our ending in life. We tend to realize that we're not going to be here for a certain amount of time. We're not going to be here after so long. Some of us, me included, realize, I wouldn't say the date. And like you said, talking to a normal person, they think we're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us actually, society teaches you that you don't know when your date is. You don't know the beginning and the end. But with people like us and hundreds across the world, thousands even, when the awakening happens, after so long, when whatever's controlling this awakening, whatever's breeding this awakening, when we're ready for it, we are given that opportunity to know that we're either not going to be here a long time, much longer, or, whatever you want to consider much longer, or that we're actually given a year or a month or whatever. And when that happens, then it becomes a race to the finish, as I like to say, where what we're given first is our purpose, what we're supposed to do, what we feel like we're supposed to do, what we need to do, what we're led to do. And then once that's complete, once we realize what we're led to do and we act on that, then wherever it's coming from, whoever or however it's coming from, we and it's felt like we can handle it, we're given the information, however, that we're not going to be here, that we're only going to be here for a set amount of time. And we know our time is either years, close, whatever however you want to deem time. And we begin to start acting on that in a way that sometimes, like what you did this morning, we wake up with anxiety, like we've got to get certain things done, or we're missing something somewhere, and we're trying to figure it out, and we're trying to know, hey, why am I getting this anxiety? Well, I have come to realize that anxiety is more or less a kind of a tool to push us to keep doing what we need to do, keep pushing us to be where we need to be. Now, you mentioned Maui. You mentioned that's where you belong. Mm-hmm. Well, my wife was getting googly eyes when you saying all that, because, and we don't know why, but and this is crazy. I feel like, and you got to understand, I've never been there except a couple times taking loads or whatever, transporting. Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Now, that's where I feel like I belong. That's where me and my wife are making arrangements and working on as we speak. We've been looking at houses to buy, properties, land, ranches, whatever. I feel like I need to be in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, either in that area on the outskirts but the town itself. We didn't understand that. And when I started looking it up, and we started researching Lebanon, the energy there is amazing. It's very tranquil, because I've been doing this, being pushed with all my downloads and with my spiritual journey and everything. I have decided and been pushed to write a book, but it's a book that I'm writing that is actually not going to be really published until my passing. And that's the whole point. It's things that people aren't ready for. It's things that the worlds are not ready for. And it's things that you already know. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think the reason why me and you and all the people you're connecting with and people like, just in general, I think it's that time in the world that people are actually starting to accept things like this. I think, if we'd have done this 10 years ago or 15 years ago or even 5 years ago, man, I think people would have locked us up in straitjacket.
Yeah, and that I believe, go all the way back to the stories of Jesus, right? He was here preaching, and that's the conversation I've had with my wife and family, and I grew up in an LDS religion, so a lot of those religious beliefs, people are having a hard time understanding what I'm saying, but I believe that Jesus was a man that grew up on this planet that obtained Christ consciousness frequency, and he understood how that worked, and that was why he could create miracles and walk on water and heal people, because he understood frequency. And
absolutely.
And that's kind of my message I've been sharing, is I don't believe this man from the sky is going to come back and save the planet. I think the awareness of frequency is coming to the planet, and everybody's going to be able to handle and heal themselves. And
absolutely, because I don't know, and you don't know my history much, but me, and matter of fact, before I got on this with you, I talked to my sister, and my sister has gifts, okay, and she accepts them. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of I guess you could say a moderate Christian. However, because she knows all this exists. And what I was explaining to her, and what I was going to go to school to be an evangelist. And we had the conversation that I actually, because my mom passed away, and I said, and I tell her a lot of the conversation me and my mom had. It brings back memories. It brings back, because my sister's a lot younger than I am. And I tell her, there was a conversation me and mom had. And it was when I quit seminary. And I called my mom up, asked, and I talked to her and I said, Mom, I quit seminary. Now, granted, I was an older gentleman. Okay. I was in my late 20s. And I told her I quit seminary, and she asked why, and I told her. And I explained to her. And like I explained to my sister, is, and not to get off on this, but there were things with different texts and different disciples that were omitted from the Bible when it was created from the Hebrew text, and what me and my wife like to call sagas, because they're stories. They're stories to live by. They're stories to adapt your life to. And the thing about what you were, it's interesting to say about Jesus is the Book of Thomas, which is in the Washington State Museum. The Book of Thomas speaks on the conversation between Jesus and Thomas was of self, was of self-healing, was of self-reflection, was of the mental capacity and the thinking capacity and spirituality capacity, and the energy force that we actually have is the ability to heal ourselves, the ability to do certain things and manifest certain things in your life. Because, you were in the car salesman business, you were in the business world. And when I was in the business world with Comcast and a few other things, we had this where we would chant these positive, I called PMA, positive mental attitude quotes, like Zig Ziglar stuff. Mm-hmm. I've read all the books, The Greatest Salesman in the World. I've read all of them. And that's all it was taking your mind and creating a positive atmosphere, no matter whether you were in a bad mood or not. You got on that level and that plane to control your attitude, control your spiritual energy, and control everything. And when that's controlled, then you can do anything. However, me and you are different, along with a lot of other 1,000 people. Our awakening, your awakening happened when I seen your video. Your awakening happened, and I'll say this, not to digress. Mm-hmm. This happened to a lot of people at the same time, you and me included.
Yeah,
literally, and the same time.
That's what I've seen. A lot of people are sharing that same story, is that in the same time frame, in the same weeks,
yes,
that things were happening. And I follow the Schumann resonance, the graph of the Earth, and watching the vibration of the sun, and the way that the CMEs and the solar flares are affecting our Earth's vibration. And and I feel very empathic. I feel like I kind of sense energy and I sense vibration, maybe sometimes earlier than other people, or at least I become aware of it. And and that's where I think a lot of things have happened for me in my life, as well as kind of feeling energy, is that I sometimes feel like I get the preview of what's coming, so I can integrate it, I can go through it, live the emotion, or feel the energy, and be able to help or describe it to other people as they're going through it. So, and again, I sometimes feel like that comes from like a stance of my ego, saying, I'm so special that I get to see something before somebody else, and I'm trying to fight that urge of being like, it's not an ego thing. I don't need to feel special. I just seem like I go through something to be aware of it and to help talk people through it. And that's, I think, where a lot of us feel that lonely feeling, is like we're going through this where we feel like we're alone because nobody else is talking about it yet. And so there's a side of me. Yep.
Well, let me ask you this, not to interrupt you, and I apologize.
No, you're good.
So growing up, okay, and growing up with me, I grew up, I've always been a type of person where, I was easy to get along with. But growing up, did you always feel like you actually fit nowhere but everywhere?
I tell everybody I felt like I was a chameleon, right? In school, in high school.
My wife's the same way.
Yep. Every type of group of people I had friends within, but I didn't fit in, right? I had friends with the cowboy group. I had friends with the gangsters. I was friends with the jocks and the athletic guys. I played sports.
Right.
I was the kid in my senior year at high school. I had all my credits to graduate, but I didn't want to graduate early. And so I took 4 art classes in my senior year, and the other 4 classes I helped with the handicapped kids. And I had Kevin, one of my best friends. He's Down syndrome boy, or boy with Down syndrome. And I got to spend the time with him teaching him wood shop. And so, yeah, I just always had this connection with people and always wanted to be around people, but never understood why. I
But
knew.
never understood and never fit in.
Yep. So, yeah, even to
You
this
fit
day.
everywhere, but you didn't fit in nowhere, right?
Yep. And then,
Okay. So I mean, and here's the thing. You were actually, I mean, me and you, we would hang out, play golf, have a beer, whatever. But I found, and see if you're the same way. I found myself talking to people, even now, especially on TikTok, talking to people and interacting with people that in my world previous before my awakening, I wouldn't have gave this time of day, other than maybe helping, not meaning I'm better than thou or better than that or better than them, because I never thought that, but just people I would not interacted with on a regular basis.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and that's
So,
for me, and I kind of chalk it up to saying that I believe that a full unconditional love has been an understanding for me. That I truly love everybody and everything, and not that I never did, but now it's just a different feeling. And I've shared the story too when I was in Maui, coming down the mountain after a big hike through the volcano. That there was a homeless man on the side of the street. We were a couple-hour drive from the bottom of the mountain. Clouds came in, the weather dropped, it started raining, it was cold, and I was literally driving down the road with maybe 5 to 10 feet of visibility in front of my car. The clouds had rolled in so heavy that I couldn't see. And out of nowhere, this guy appears on the side of the road. And so I backed up, I picked him up, realized that he was a homeless man, and we had a conversation for over an hour as I drove him to a store. I was going to buy him some food, and we had a conversation where he told me that he came through a portal, that he appeared at the top of this mountain. So here we are on top of Haleakala volcano in Maui. He said 10 minutes ago he remembered being in California, that he came through a portal. He described to me all of the different spacecrafts that he understands how to build, that we're electromagnetic beings on an electromagnetic planet, and that things all happen with space travel through magnets. He told me about different planets he's visited, and he was aware that his consciousness was in the wrong body, that he knew who he was, but he was in the wrong body. And had I had that conversation with anybody, no matter who they look like or the situation, you'd tell me that same story 5-6 months ago, and I would have thought they were completely crazy.
they were crazy.
And to this day, I thought I still feel like that was a divine being that I got an opportunity to spend an hour with in my car. I can get myself into those emotions of remembering exactly who he was, and I know this man was not an earthly being, and I don't know how to explain that to somebody. That I feel like I was in the presence of something way greater than a human, and he
Right.
disappeared in front of my eyes. This guy showed up in the clouds at 2:22, and I have a picture of myself holding a shake that he bought me. A homeless man bought me food, and I took a picture of myself crying in my car at 3:33 because he disappeared and I couldn't find him after we bought food. And I chalk it up to saying that he just walked away from my awareness faster than I could pay attention to where he went, but I don't think that's possible. I think this man appeared for no reason, and for a reason, and he disappeared. And he's left an impression on me, and I don't even know his name.
And and the thing about that, when that happens, that there is for a reason. It's to slowly get you to understand, and there's a reason why I know this, is slowly get you to understand that everything that you think isn't real, just because the powers that be or the news or the internet or whatever says it doesn't exist, is not is not true. So the reason why I say that is because I worked for 2 restaurants, and I've always been raised up in positions. Once I start, I'm moved up. I have met, and I think they're the same person. I have met 3 people in my life during my success of moving up in the ranks of different businesses. I had met a guy when I thought I wanted to own the restaurant. I worked at Waffle House. I got hired as a bigwig. And in my training, I ended up meeting a guy. And it was a black guy that had a cane. And now, at this time, I was kind of on the Christian level. This guy reminded me of Paul in the Bible. And he came out of nowhere, befriended me. He was a customer. And there was things he was telling me about my life that was going to happen, or things that he knew of me that made no sense. I waited on him. He come in, and he had a limp. He had a cane. Can't remember the guy's name now. Kind of like you, I can't remember these people. Well, so I went from there, ended up with my own restaurant, own store, and another man, similar to him, came, limped, very single gentleman, very intelligent, but just modest. Same way. Told me things about my life, just was attracted to me as far as just made it a point to conversate with me. And then the last restaurant I worked at, this was before I got into my business. I was younger. It was a Mexican guy. He was supposedly a police officer with his family. He had a limp, had a cane. Okay?
Wow.
Well, the day that I got promoted, nobody knew. Okay, nobody in the restaurant, no customers, or nothing. The day I got promoted, I didn't tell nobody. Didn't tell my ex. Didn't tell nobody. He brought him and his family, him and his wife and his child, brought in a it was about a $250 tie, Perry Cardon or whatever that was, a tie, because on my promotion I had to wear a suit or a suit jacket and a tie and a button-down, real nice polo shirt. He brought in a tie in a box with a shirt. And he said, this is your first day of your promotion.
That's cool.
Nobody knew. So, so after I left this restaurant, I called up, and supposedly he was a regular while I was there. Do you know nobody remembered even knowing who this dude was? Nobody. Not one person.
And that's when I realized, yeah, for me, I think there's divine beings that are put in our presence and our awareness that have no logical reason for being there other than to just give us those little messages when things are needed.
Absolutely. So there's my awakening. There's what happened to me. But I'm going to finish with this. I will say this. You need help, I can help you. Or you can help me. You can call me and reach out to me anytime you want, man. I went through this. I'm good now. I don't have what you would call awakenings. I had downloads. Mm-hmm. My awakening is fully done. And it's to the point where I know who I am. I know what I got to do. Like you, it is bringing to people to the understanding of, how would I say, that there's more. It's not like I want you to come to my side type thing. It is more things aren't what they appear to be. Mm-hmm. So, is it emotional? And I am absolutely ecstatic and honored and glad that I came across your page. your FYP hit me and it hit my FYP, and I was like, what this? And, it was, people say, oh, well, your phone's listed. No, that wasn't the case because me and my wife don't believe in coincidences. Um, but I will say this. Let me ask you this. Since you're awakening, and I've seen your video, where you're talking about how your relationships building with your children and your wife and everything else. Do you feel like this awakening made you a better person and more understanding towards your family life and your home life?
Absolutely. Which it's twofold right now, because I feel like it gave me, and I would use kind of the reference of, I feel like I've lived in a masculine divine energy for a long time, and it was my way or the highway, and I had one track thinking. And
Same.
I believe that I had this full on like feminine energy awakening and being able to see things from a different perspective, and really communicating in a way, living in a household of three daughters and a wife, and two male dogs now, but I feel like I've lived in this feminine energy as a masculine kind of divine energy for my whole life. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing things from a different perspective. I'm seeing the reasons that my kids would respond to my comments the way they did, or how I was, not communicating on a level that should have been different for them. But then the second half of that is realizing how many things that I've done in my life as a programmed kind of stuck in the matrix feeling. And that as I'm waking up to what I truly need and what my purpose is here and what my soul's mission is, there's a lot of things that I've realized that have to change. And that's the scary part, because there's a lot of physical reality things here that are just now no longer resonating. And I'm making a lot of changes that I believe is for my best interest and kind of my soul's purpose, but it's affecting other people in my life right now. So it's kind of twofold. I'm enjoying the ability to communicate and to talk to my kids on a different level. And then I'm also in the weird emotions knowing that I have to make some changes. And part of that is what's happening between my wife and I. We've had some communication struggles and not being able to talk on the same level, and we're working through that stuff now. And so there's a weird sense that I need to do something completely different in my life. I have this soul calling that feels like I need to live in Maui, and that my purpose is to be there for a specific reason. A week ago I made that comment that I want to build like a healing kind of therapy sanctuary, and for some reason that location is calling to me a lot. But that's what I'm dealing with now. I've got teenage daughters. My youngest is 17, just finishing an early college program in high school. She's a wrestler. She wants to maintain her wrestling time in her senior year, as well as kind of finish hanging out with her friends. And 19-year-old's my middle daughter. She's up at college right now. She was a high school wrestler as well, and then moved on to playing rugby and living her best life right now. She's doing social work. She wants to be a part of helping people and helping with placing adoptions. And she's a huge giver, a huge empath. She feels energy probably way stronger than I do. And she's that type of person that you want to be in her presence because you feel good around her. And watching my kid develop that ability and those talents is crazy.
It's an amazing feeling, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
And then, and my oldest, I got a 26-year-old that she's just wrapping up her master's program. She's had 2 kids, so she's given her and her husband have brought 2 grandkids into my life. And watching her truly become the break of our generational trauma. I wanted to recreate some of the communication and the connections with my kids that I never had with my parents. And I'm watching my daughter build this little boy up. I've got a 2-year-old grandson and a 3.5, almost 4-month-old granddaughter. And my 2-year-old grandson knows how to express his emotions. He knows when he's feeling happy, when he's feeling sad, if he's feeling anxious. He knows what he feels when he's frustrated, and he can describe it, and he knows how to correct those emotions and to change his thought pattern. And she's teaching him how to do that at 2 years old. And I'm thinking, I'm barely learning how to do this at 45. Like, how the hell are you that smart? But
man, look, I was raised to suppress emotions, that a man, they provider, blah, 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 be this big businessman, make all this money, and your family be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is we were taught wrong. Because when suppression comes, then when you suppress emotions, you suppress the open-mindedness of seeing the realities around you. And with the suppressing emotions, you also, when you can't feel nothing, you can't think straight. Mm-hmm. Period. And it's kind of a two-edged sword. So because, you know, people say, and I'll say this, when you suppress emotions, you end up bringing out more anger when you're upset or when something happens than you do happiness. So, you know, on my level, I could say today, I could tell my wife, and like I said, we're twin flames. I met my best friend. It took me a long time. Brother, it took me 51 years. Okay, I'll be 55 this year. It took me 51 years to find who belonged, almost 52 years to find who belonged to me. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring this up, you're with your wife. Your wife is giving you space. Your wife is giving you understanding to do what you feel like you need to do. Mm-hmm. That you got to understand. A lot of people don't get that opportunity with their partner. You've learned how to communicate with your children. So what I will say is this, where it took you, 40-something years, mm-hmm. It took me 51 years to get to where I'm at. So you still got at least 15, 16 years.
Thanks for that encouragement.
Well, what I'm saying is,
I know.
You know, what I'm saying is, people like us, and I'm just going to tell you, people like us, like I told my wife, how old I'm going to be to pass away. Okay, mm-hmm. Because like I said in the beginning, our awakening, we are allowed at a certain point to be given, and be given are when we're going to pass. Mm-hmm. My wife, being in the spiritual world, the witchy world, Norse pagan, whatever, because she's not Norse pagan or anything, but being in the spiritual world, she has reached out to mutuals or people she's friends with that are shamans, you know, and all this, and has said, well, this is what my husband said. This was a year ago. This is what my husband says, and he stands on this. And they're like, he already knows. So people like us, I'm only going to be, I'll be 55 this year. Okay. My daughter, which is 8 years old, I adopted her from birth. She knows she's adopted. We talked about it about 6 months ago. She's looking at me smirking. I came into a couple from previous marriage that were pregnant and they didn't want to have the baby. And I said, I'll take the baby. Didn't know why. Okay, brother, man, I was in my 40s. Okay. I never would have imagined adopting a child at my age. And didn't know why I was doing it. I just knew I had to do it. So had I known now, or had I known then what I know now, maybe. But the fact is, I know I'm only going to live to be 63. And I'll just put that out there. Mm-hmm. Because this is what I've been given. You haven't been given to that extent. But this is what I've been given. So the awakening, we don't know why it happens so late in life. Maybe it's be things that we've done, whatnot, or whatever. But that's just the way it goes. Mm-hmm. We don't live to be old. And we don't.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to.
And that's part of kind of what I've had too, and more so being shown some of my soul contracts and understanding things. And I've spent some time kind of researching into the Akashic records and learned how to meditate to a point of I guess, getting into my own Akashic records and understanding my purpose. I've had moments where I've actually been made aware of exit points, if you will, that I've written into my soul contract of times that I could choose to exit. And not through offing myself or choosing to end it that way. It was as there was other options given to me, and I've had a few experiences where I knew that I was in the moment of a opportunity to exit if my soul chose it needed to, and I was given the choice to continue or to end. I started choking on a piece of meat one night with my wife in the kitchen, and I was breathing, but I knew there was a piece of steak stuck in my throat, and I couldn't swallow it. It wouldn't go up or down, but I was still getting enough oxygen that I thought I was. Um, I was leaning over the kitchen sink trying to clear it out and trying to force myself to spit it back up. I couldn't get water down my throat. I couldn't get my finger deep enough into my throat to find it. And there was a moment that my wife told me, she's like, "You're turning blue. My arms were blue, my face was blue, but I felt like I was still breathing. I was still I get enough oxygen that I was communicating with her that like I'm panicking, but I'm still in control. I still know what's going on." And I don't know how long this lasted, but she mentioned that she had almost started calling 911 when she thought that my whole body was turning blue. So I had obviously gone without enough oxygen long enough that the color in my skin was changing. And there was a moment where I was shown or kind of made aware that I had a choice, that I could choose not to clear this obstruction out of my throat and I would suffocate and that would be the end of me. But it would have been a choice of mine. And then in that moment, I was also shown what the next week would look like as my family kind of prepared a funeral and how their life was going to move on without me. I was also shown the opposite, what it would look like if I chose to stay and the role that I was going to assume. And I'm obviously here, and I chose to keep going, if you will. But there's been several times in my life where I felt like I was shown an exit point that my soul has kind of written into my contract. And there's a bigger purpose, and I think I really understood that on April 6th, sitting on the beach, and here we are today. So, yeah.
And it gave you there was, like you, there were several times that I just I either wanted to go or I didn't. And the thing about it is, like me and my wife talk, we take it as depression, and it's not that it's depression. It's the fact, and I've learned this over the last year, that it's not depression. It's the fact that we feel like, I guess you could say, we feel like we're alone to the point where that awakening. You and in that moment, you feel like you're the only one that understands this. And what makes what you're going through and what you're putting out there, because I wanted to put it out there so bad and so much. When it happened to me, my wife's like, no. And you'd have to understand her world and the world she used to be a part of, is people would use that against you. And, and the thing about it is, magic and the awakening and the energy is absolutely and entirely real. And I like you, there was, I growing up, I had been shot, and I had a choice, or live or die. And in that choice, I seen what difference I would make in people's lives, and being, if I continued to stay versus if I just went ahead and just gave up spiritually and energy wise, just gave up. And you talk about the what was it, the what was it that you said no, what was it you said you researched or you read on the
Akashic records?
Yeah, the Akashic records. Yeah. Sorry, I have a brain freeze. Anyway, and I've looked at that, and do I believe that's absolutely true and correct? I do, because there is no way that me, you, and thousands of people, and I don't know who all you talk to or whatever, there is no way in the world that all of us are feeling the exact same thing close within a week. Within a week, 7 days to 14 days, all of us having this awakening at the same time. There is no way that's a coincidence. Me and my wife don't believe in coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that's a coincidence. I think that we're awakening because of the fact that everything is happening for a purpose in changing things in the world.
Yes.
I really believe that it's changing things in the world, because here's the thing. You know, you got Christianity and prayer. You got Buddhism and meditation. And when a group, no matter how big or small, come into an agreement, them energies, and I'll say this before I go on, atheists believe in this. Them energies can transfer and manifest into manifestation. And you gotta understand, I was like you, man. I was a businessman. I didn't really believe in all this. I mean, yeah, I meditated and things like that. The things they do make us do as businessmen and salesmen and stuff. You meditate.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't. But our awakening comes with a cost. It comes with a cost, as, like you said, a few months, 6 months ago, or even me 5 years ago. Had we done this, had we became like this and went and talked about this then, man, we'd been more of an outcast than what we are.
Yeah.
And we would. So I'm just saying.
And
here you are. Yeah. You're a big businessman. You're very successful. Here I am, a simple guy. I was successful. I went bankrupt 3 different times. I've owned, multi-million-dollar homes. Got to the point where I made all the money, and this is no joke, and you can go back and look at my TikTok. Mm-hmm. I was making $38,000 a month take home, and I was giving away anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 a month.
Wow!
And this was during my awakening. During the time of COVID, I was holding a live every Friday and pulling people in. And I was taking 2 people. I was taking one person that would suggest somebody and it was kind of a twofold thing that I was doing. It was making people do selfless acts. And because I wanted to find a way to reach out to people, but without me actually picking the person. So what I did is I posted a video having a contest. And I said, I want you to post somebody, tag somebody that you have that you know needs help. I didn't say whether they were worthy of it or anything. I said needs help. That person that tagged them, and this video was up for 7 days. I ran the benefit for 3 months. Wow. 3 months, man. I would contact the person that was tagged that I picked, and I would pull them in the live on that Friday. The person that would tag them on that Friday, I would take the person that they tagged. I would ask them, I'd bring them on the live. I'd talk to them. Do you know what you're here for? They'd say, well, sort of, but not really. And I'd say, okay, so how much? And they'd tell me about themselves, kind of like what we're talking. And I'd say at the end, okay, how much does your bills come to a month? And they tell me. I'd say, okay, well, hold up. And I'd already had talked to them Wednesday, not telling them why, but I told them, hey, you got Cash App, ACH, bank, whatever. What do you got? And I would, on that Friday, when I talked to them, I'd say, okay, hold up. I would pause the live, and I would send them the amount that they said that their bills come to for that month, for that next month. And then the person that tagged them, I'd say, what is your biggest bill? And they'd tell me. And I would say, okay, hold up. And I would tell them, check your accounts, check your Cash App, right there on lives. And I wasn't doing it to get clicks or follows, because you got to understand, I used to have 240,000 plus followers on here. And this is a different account than the one you got. My stupid butt ended up getting political. But anyway, that's beside the point. So that's how I would help people. Because at the time, I was going through awakening. I was still in that I was still in that mindset that financial and monetary was a main part of people's lives. So that's what I would do. I would give away thousands to make people happy. Now, in the end, after I got all that done, did it make me feel better? Yeah, it did. But it also made me realize that it had nothing to do with finances. It had nothing to do with monetary gain. It had to do with spirituality and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And had I known what I know now versus what I knew then, I wouldn't have done all that. I would actually do what you do now. I would have took the money I had, because me and my wife aren't hurting now, but I'd have took that money then. I mean, we're talking $38,000 a month, free and clear money after taxes and everything. I'd have took that money. I would have invested in a big ranch in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, where I'm being called like you are to Maui.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike you, I didn't know. I wasn't aware. I wasn't being called to a certain place. So am I thankful I come across you? Man, you honestly, you have no idea, because I honestly thought I was the only one. I really, truly thought I was just the only one. And I told my wife 3 months ago, I said, there's got to be more people out there like me. Mm-hmm. There's got to be.
And I think that's what's happening right now is we're figuring it out. We're realizing that there's more of us out there. And I think that's kind of this building a community at the moment, is just letting people have a safe space to kind of share stories and collect and create this community. So it's funny. I as you were telling me your story and sharing your ability to help with people, I wrote myself a couple messages when I was coming back from Hawaii. And I want to read you one of them that I wrote, but it's out of 9 things I wrote myself. This is number 3. And it said, the universe is always giving, and its gifts will never require payment of your energy. Give as freely as the universe gives. And that right there, I think, just describes exactly what you've done for yourself. You had an abundance that was coming into your life, and you were sharing that with others. And now I think there's going to come a turn where that's going to be returned back to you. So you'll have the ability.
And it actually already, believe it or not, it actually already has. My wife, when she got with me, she comes from a very prominent family that she didn't know was prominent. Mm-hmm. And me coming from my business background, like you, my wife didn't understand a lot of things in business, and her ancestors, her relatives have passed away, which has now become her ancestors. And she has come into an influx of gas wells, and gas wells that she knew it didn't exist, that she never knew existed. And the thing with her was, she didn't research her lineage. When me and her first got together, because I had when I had a lot to lose. We're talking financial wise. Mm-hmm. So I researched and found out who she was, and she never knew her history of her family. Well, her family actually owned half of West Virginia since 1777. So now, as we speak, matter of fact, we just got done doing it today. I had to run to the bank, get some things notarized, get some things mailed off. And she did not know. And I even questioned her, and I said, okay, I want you to see A, B, and C with your family. And she's like, oh, my gosh. Where he didn't realize that he was very well off. I already knew, but she was well off. Her family had passed away and made her very, very well off. And like you were speaking, I told her, I said, things come to the forefront as you see of how you do things. And I said, what you've done for me is going to come back to you full circle. Mm-hmm. So she's had a lot of legal people contact her. She's had a lot of landmen contact her. She's had a lot of people in the oil and gas industry contact her in the last, since 2023. Well, we had one gentleman contact her, one landman contact her, and she was like, okay, when is, I can't believe this keeps coming up. And come to find out, like I explained to her, this isn't the end of it. He's signing land leases for mineral rights on top of land leases. It comes every 6 months to every year. Somebody else contacts her. And when I told her is this, you have given, just like I have, that it's coming, the universe is, and she believes it because of who she is. The universe is giving back. So, with all that, all she ever says every week, man, every week, she's like, sweetheart, I want you to retire. I want you to be able to retire. You work so much, you work so hard, because I'm a workaholic, and I really am. And she's like, I want you to retire. Well, with every comment she's making, all this is coming back to her. And it's making me where, I don't know, probably the next 2, 3, 4 months, I'll be able to retire. But what I told her in facing that retirement, because I was on the road. I was on the road, and I just, like you, I posted TikTok. I thought, I'm done, you guys. Well, in that process, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I was scared, Cody. I was scared. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, next thing I know, we're home Thanksgiving, and there was a knock at the door. And he's like, hey, why don't you come off the road and come work for me? I'm like, what? Well, January, I made that move. And when I say that finances are good, our bills are paid, our bank account's fat, it's because of the fact, like you said, the universe is paying us back. And it's like the property we live on now. And I ain't gonna lie to you, it's crap, okay? But it's only crap because I gave it away to somebody and it wasn't taken care of. And they ended up giving it back to me. When they gave it back to me, it's in distraught ruins. Okay, well, we got the money to fix it up. No big deal. Is it where I want to be, where I'm going to be? No, I'm going to, like you being in Maui, I'm going to be in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. But we're going to use this as an investment to flip it and do what I got to do.
Very cool.
But, because that's what I am. I'm a businessman. I'm not stupid. I'm highly intelligent. But, and it's just the fact that where I'm smart in business, the universe is giving back tenfold, man. Mm-hmm. And it's, I woke up, I realized that I didn't need to do what I was doing. I didn't need to stress, push, or pride over what I was doing. I just needed to live the way I'm supposed to live and help where I need to help. And that's it. Nothing less, nothing more. I guess in a way, I used to do what I was doing to be accepted by others. I don't do that anymore. I don't do things to be accepted. I do things I do things in a way that either they're going to be a part of my life, a part of my energy, or they're not. I don't do things to make other people happy. I do things that make people happy. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I've rubbed elbows with big wigs. I've rubbed elbows with homeless people. I've rubbed elbows with drug people. I've rubbed elbows with every type of people. And at the end of the day, trying to be accepted in different circles never woke me up, never got me to where I was supposed to be. It always got me where I didn't need to be. And so with that being said, I'm just a normal guy that woke up one day, cried a lot, and realized that I had to do something so much more than what I was doing and stop being who other people wanted me to be, and including my family.
Mm-hmm.
Am I a provider? Absolutely. But the difference is I'm finally with a wife that no matter what I do, no matter where I go, no matter what I choose to do, if that's what I'm supposed to do, in the Christian world, they call it a calling. In the spiritual world, they call it a journey and path. I woke up and I have never in a million years ever been so more content, so more happy than I am now. But I wake up with anxiety at least 3 times a week. So there's that. And I do. So yeah.
No, I feel like you and I talking, it seems like I'm speaking to myself from just a different version. And I can't thank you enough for sharing yourself with me and the conversation, because I know for a fact there's a reason, and we're communicating, we're connecting on purpose. And so I can't say anything more than I thank you. But
hey, anytime, man, and anytime you just want to call and talk, man, I'll do my best to help you, because, like I said, I went through what you went through. Now I'm not saying mine's done. Yours definitely ain't done, man. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna let you know you're not done. You're emotional. Your downloads. Your awakening. Well, let me ask you this before we get off here: How many spurts of awakenings have you had?
I believe this most recent one would have been the 4th.
Okay. And that awakening was as extreme as it was. To what extent and what direction was that?
I think that kind of gave me my full soul's awareness of where I'm going and the purpose of my life, why I'm here today. The initial point when I had a big mushroom dose, I think that was kind of just the waking up and kind of realizing that there's a bigger picture.
Okay.
And then I've gone through a couple smaller ones that just more felt like tower moments for myself, and kind of dark night of the soul, dealing with generational trauma, inner child healing, how to kind of work through those. And then this most recent one just felt like it was a full calling to my soul's mission and realizing why I'm here. So
you got one more awakening to hit you, and then you'll be leveled out where, man, you will be gung-ho, and you will level out to the point where you will finally start initiating the actual, because I know you're initiating it now with the Maui and the opening of helping others and vacation wives and journeys. But there will, but at that point, you're steadfasting, trying to move towards that, but in different directions from different avenues. You got one more awakening that you're going to experience, and it won't be as emotional. It'll be more mental. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a twofold. It's going to be an awakening, and you already kind of went through it once, but it's going to be an awakening where you're going to. It's going to be an awakening in a way that it's going to be the final straw where you're going to do this, and you're going to realize you need to do this. But what makes this different is it's not going to be an emotional. It's going to be a mental, where you're going to be where you actually got to be, the steps you got to actually take, and to the point where it's going to make you, and like I said, I don't like to say depression, because that's not what it is. It's going to be where it's going to be a thought process where, kind of like when your first awakening happened, and then you had your breakdown of where, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is this really what I want to do? You're going to have that last awakening where it's going to be that, but it's going to make it where you're going to be dead. It's going to make you dead set on actually completing your task. And there's not going to be any time frame. And that is probably where you're going to really receive how long you have left. And I don't like talking about it, but it's how long you have left. Mm-hmm. You're going to know your age of when you're going to pass. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why, but everybody that goes through this awakening, there's a reason for this purpose of this awakening. And the reason why we end up in the end of our awakening period, because that'll be the last awakening. Now, you'll continue to have downloads. Mm-hmm. You'll continue to have depressions. You'll continue to have crash outs. I'm just going to tell you, it comes with the territory. Mm-hmm. Your crash outs are going to be, they're going to be controllable, but you're going to have crash outs, man. But it's going to, once you find your timeline, and I say this with all reverence in my voice, man, and my emotions, is you're going to get your timeline. One thing I can say when you get your timeline, okay, and I still deal with this on a daily basis, you're going to be doing something, you're going to be moving, you're going to be working, you're going to be working your books and everything else, because I know you're working on thinking about writing a book if you've not already started. Mm-hmm. So there's that. You keep journals, okay? That I already know too. But that's part about being awakening. You know things about people from talking to them, what they're doing, okay? So no, your journals aren't all over the place, okay? And your book will come. Mm-hmm. But one thing about where you got to end up, word of caution, and to help you with your emotions to deal with it, is you're going to feel like you're not moving fast enough. You're going to feel like you're not getting the Maui thing and helping people fast enough. You're doing it according to what the universe allows. Even if 2 days before you pass, you get it completed, guess what, brother? You did it.
Yeah.
There's no timestamp. So keep your journals like you're keeping. And though your book, though the book you're wanting to write is a touch and go, is a stop, and then, because you're not a procrastinating guy, but yeah, you're procrastinating that. Mm-hmm. Because you don't know where to start, don't want to know where to begin. I will give you a word of advice, because this is how it was with me when I started mine. You speak truthfully, direct, and very forthcoming on your book, because your book is not for everybody. Your book is not for general public. It's for people going through what we're going through, and your book is for when you're done. To help people for when you're done. It's not to help people for while you're here. That's what you're doing here. It's to help people for when you're done.
That reminds me of the story of Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie, and the book that was written, right? Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. Think and Grow Rich. I read the book.
And I love the story behind it, and I imagine you've heard it, but I'd like to share for the listeners. But,
go ahead.
Right, Dale Carnegie asked Napoleon Hill to write a book, that he would give him a letter of acknowledgement to get him access to anybody in the world, presidents, CEOs, top-level people. And his statement to Napoleon was that this will be a lifelong journey. This will be a book that will take most of your life. You'll have to do it on your own dollar. You will never receive any recognition for this book while you're alive. But the results of this book will change the world, and your family and generations far behind you will reap the benefits. And what a lot of people don't know is Dale Carnegie hit the start button on his stopwatch after he asked Napoleon if he'd take on the task of writing this book on his own dollar through his lifetime with no recognition. And it took Napoleon Hill 43 seconds to answer yes. And I realized that a lot of major, impactful people in the world have been able to make these life-changing decisions without a thought, because they understood the purpose. And for you to share that, I know this is my ego talking, but
You're good.
I know that that book is to that level, that there's probably going to be an impact that I don't foresee, and there's always a side of me that wishes that, you know, that I would leave this big impactful imprint on the world. And I know this is my ego fulfilling that right now, is thinking that that's possible for me, but that message rang true, that when you said that this book is might be completed at the very last day. It hit pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, think about the greatest salesman in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've read that book.
Yeah.
And that book didn't become big until the late 1980s and 1990s. And you know, it's not. And I'd like to say that I'm wise. My wife seems to think so, and a few other people, but I don't. It comes from experience that we don't. It's not while we're here that we impact and make the greatest impact with people. It's what we.
Yeah.
It's what we leave behind. It's what we leave behind that makes the impact on people. And that is the purpose, you know, the Great Awakening. You know, that can be subjective, that can be semblance, that can be an eye-opener. However, the impact we leave behind is not the same impact while we're here. Because, you know, take from, you know, I can't remember where it was from, but you can't be a prophet in your own city.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for any type of spiritual knowledge. It goes for any type of religious thing, that you can't impact people while you're here. I mean, Van Gogh, his paintings wasn't worth millions till he passed away. Steve Jobs, the thing he said on his deathbed, somebody asked him, was all that millions worth it? Was what you did worth it? And if I'm not mistaken, he actually said no. If he knew what he knows now before his passing, that all them millions was not worth one person. That he wanted to change. He wanted to change the world in a different way. I'm not saying he regretted it, because he lived a good life. Mm-hmm. But he actually did not, when he was on his deathbed or when he was dying, people asked, you know, I don't remember the logistics of it or the complete details, but it was, he would have done it differently. And that's the thing with people not like me and you. We've come to realize early. I've got 7 years left, man. And my wife and my daughter, especially my wife, she's starting to accept it. And whoever's listening to the podcast, you guys could think I'm crazy, whatnot, whatever. But through my lineage and through my history and through my family alone, every one of them passes away between 62 and 63. Every male in my family. So regardless, you know, I got that going for me. You know, I just wanted to put that out there. So it's not me crazy. It's me knowing what's going to happen. Wow. So I'm working on the book. Like I told you, I probably will not be finished with my book until I'm 60 years old. Maybe 61, maybe 62. But my book is not being written to gain popularity. My book is being written to help people going through what me and you have went through and continuously go through. You have the perfect thing, the Great Awakening. Mm-hmm. That's not a forte. That's not just a cliche. That is actually what is happening to people all across the world.
No, very
Two and
true.
a half years ago. 2.5 years ago. We went through the same thing you did. I mean, almost to the day. And matter of fact, people want to research it. Go through my TikTok. We posted videos about it that week that you're speaking of. And I'm not the first person you talk to that gives them dates. And so there's got to be a reason for this, Cody.
I agree.
Absolutely a reason. Because, I mean, here we are, grown men, stern. You can't tell me you used to not be a stern man.
Yeah. Yep.
Stern, straight to the point, leader of the household. What I say goes. You don't understand, figure it out. This is the way it's going to be. Men that now, hell, we cry on videos. We talk with emotion. And we're literally going through a change in a good way that our family are also. They are like, hey, what happened to you? You know, like I said, I was lucky. My wife met me as a friend right before I went through this, but she understood it. She understands it completely. But it's not for the faint at heart. It's not for any one person's understanding. I don't care who understands me. I don't care who understands you. So I don't care. It's the fact I know what I'm going through. I know what you're going through. And I know what I see and I know what I feel. I know the downloads I get. And I know what's coming and what's not coming. I can't explain it. But I understand it. Either people accept it or they won't, but it's not for, I'm like you. Whether they accept it or not, then I don't care.
Yeah, and that's where I've gotten to is it's my journey, and I'm more than happy to share it with people, but I don't have to make them feel comfortable in my own space. It's kind of a different feeling for me.
Absolutely. Okay, brother man. Well, you know what? Hey, I appreciate you, man. And like I said, you want to call, you want to talk, whatever, man. Hey, I enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I'll share it with you. This is you personally, but anybody listening as well. If you have my phone number, you have all rights to call and text. I will do the same. I give my phone number to friends, and if you have it, it's because we're friends. So
Absolutely.
100%. Anything you need, text, call, phone numbers. I'm the same way. So I just feel like we're connecting each other for a reason, and I look forward to continuing to talk with you as well. So.
And if I can, and I'm going to say this, it'll be 2 or 3 months, but if we can help with the Maui thing, and you just got to hit me up.
Yeah.
We'll, I'll help with it. And when you get it going, we definitely coming. I'm just saying. We definitely coming. Yes. I wear my, I like I said, me and you are similar. So my wife, she likes to wear yoga pants and things like that. But we're wanting to go to Hawaii anyway because she's friends with a bunch of people that don't consider, and I know you'll understand this term, that don't consider her Halle, a Halle. So they consider actually Hawaiian. Don't ask me how. So
it's an energy. It's something that's different. I know that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? Native ones. And when you get a chance, I want you to go to look at Hawaiian Blanca. I'll send you his page. He's an amazing creator. He's an amazing dude. We're friends with him. Nice. I've met a lot of good people, as you and a few other people on here, that understand what we're going through, believe it or not. And so other than that, man, I'm gonna get off here. We've been on here a while. and I appreciate this. I really do. Absolutely. if you need anything, man, I don't care if it's just talking shit. I'll shut up and just listen. I know it's rough, man. And I know I got a Southern accent, but I got an IQ of 132. Okay? So there's that. I know Southern people sound low.
No.
Well, I'm just saying a lot of us, but, a lot of people from Southern South started Napa. So there's that. But other than that, man, you ever need, you having a breakdown or anything, and I mean it, you're having an awakening that you can't control. We tend to, as men especially, not to reach out. Man, I've got calls at 2:30 in the morning, okay, for people wanting to unalive their self, commit suicide, okay, and I'm serious. I've been there. I wanted to unalive myself over all this awakening stuff, and I really did. My wife saved me. So, that being said, you need anything, I don't care, promotion, donations, whatever. And I'm serious. Reach out to me. And I can guarantee you I can get help in places that you're just starting in.
Very cool. Again,
so
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, man, because what you're doing, and I'm going to say this again, no, it don't sound crazy across the spectrum. It don't. You'd be surprised how many people agree with you and how many people actually believe in you. So if you need anything, I don't care if it's 2:30 in the morning and you having a breakdown, not you'll be awake, you having a breakdown or whatever, and you want to understand something. I'm saying I know I don't have all the answers, but I can sure the hell listen. So other than that, man, we're going to end this. I'm going to get off here, and I'll be out your way soon. But like I said, when you get the Maui thing going, me and my wife, my daughter, definitely going to show up because my daughter's on the same level as us.
Nice.
That's a story at a different time. But we'll definitely come out, and if I can get out there before wintertime, because I know how Utah is, get out there before wintertime. My handicap's an 8, just so you know.
Okay.
If you want to play me. I love golf. Yes. I mean, I'm just saying, I really do. My favorite part is riding the carts and getting beer from the beer cart, but that's just me.
Yes. So. No, I love it. I think I've gotten good enough at golf that I don't get mad that I'm not a pro, so I'm okay.
I know, right?
Yes.
None of us are pro. But anyway, okay, brother, man. Well, I appreciate you, and just let me know when you post that, and I'll be in there and I'll promote it, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Tony.
Cobb.
Have a great day.
You're welcome, brother. Call me anytime.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Wow. Well, thank you again for sharing this space with us and hearing our conversation with Tony and myself. And again, for those of you that are new or haven't heard yet, we do have a support group on Facebook, The Awakened Stranger. Go ahead and ask for your entrance, if you will, or admittance to that, I guess. We have moderators that are just helping us control that space and making sure that we have the right people, keeping that safe and kind of a sacred space where we get to share questions and get to know each other on a little bit more intimate level. So that's there, available on Facebook, again at The Awakened Stranger. And then for anybody that would like to record their own episode and share their story, to whether it's your awakening story, life experiences, advice, or asking for advice, that's available for everybody. On my TikTok bio page is a link to the Google Calendar. I also have that tied to the Instagram side. So on TikTok, it's at Cody Rampton. There's only one account that's mine. I have had a couple fake accounts, so just be careful that it's my name only. No additional letters, no spaces, just Cody Rampton. And then also it's been duplicated onto Instagram, and there you'll find me at The Awakened Stranger. And on the Instagram side, there's a couple extra links that they allow. So there's links to the podcast episodes, there's link to the Google Calendar, and a few other spots there. I believe the link to the Awakened Stranger on Facebook. So definitely reach out. I would love to hear your story. I'd love to be able to connect with more and get to know a lot of more people on the intimate level. And thank you. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to connecting with you guys and hearing more of your stories. Have a great day, and I love you all.